Thank you for joining us today. As you can see behind me, we now have a view of what we'd love the Wasatch Front to look like every day. Clear blue sky, unrestricted views of the valley and the mountains that surround us. Smog and haze are not only ugly, but they threaten our health and our ability to enjoy the outdoors. Utah's been working very hard over the past decade to improve our air quality, and we've made progress, and that's something I think we can be very proud of. We're now driving cleaner vehicles, we're taking transit more often, we're choosing to bike or to walk for short trips, we're making our buildings more energy efficient, and industry is installing cleaner technology, and the tech sector is coming up with clean energy solutions to power our world. And thanks to all of that effort, the Salt Lake metro region may soon be removed from the EPA's non-compliance list for violating the 24-hour particulate pollution standard, a milestone for 13 years, a milestone that we sought for 13 years. And if this proves out, it'll be the first time since 2006 that the metro area meets the Federal Clean Air Act standard for PM 2.5. That's great news, and that is something for us to absolutely celebrate. But it is not a signal that we can slow down. There's another aspect of our air quality that I'm also here to talk about today, and that is ground level background ozone. Ozone is the dangerous component of smog. It's a mixture of both naturally occurring and man-made ingredients. The man-made stuff is volatile organic compounds, which include emissions from vehicles and power plants, wildfires, other human-caused pollutants. It's a toxic stew that's dangerous to human health. Unhealthy levels of ozone caused an estimated 75 deaths in the Salt Lake Valley alone in 2017, according to studies by the American Thoracic Society. Despite efforts to increase health and environmental standards and to improve compliance, we've seen an increase in ozone emissions, and we don't specifically know where they are coming from. We also need better models to give us data and to give us answers. I've introduced a simple, straightforward bill that directs the National Academies of Science to do a couple of things. To identify the current of and examine the science around climate change that could be affecting our background ozone. My bill directs the scientists to create better models and to help quantify the sources and contributions of background ozone on a regional scale, and to make public policy recommendations to Congress on how policymakers can best address this issue. As a member of the House Science, Space, and Technology Committee, my colleagues and I look to the national scientific community regularly to help us understand these complicated environmental problems. I've just finished a roundtable discussion here at the Huntsman Cancer Institute with Utahns who are leading the effort for clean air from state, county, city, private sector, and the nonprofit sector. And they have done, and they are doing, important work in the government, business, and nonprofit sectors to help us tackle this problem we face here. Clean air requires effort by all of us, but I'm confident that armed with good scientific data and analysis, which my legislation will provide, we can and we will succeed. Our kids, our older adults, our families, and our environment will all benefit from this effort. Staying healthy is a key component to the great quality of life that we enjoy here on the Wasatch Front and here in Utah. I'm very pleased to have Dr. Daniel Mendoza join us today. He's someone well known to Utahns for his important studies into the health effects associated with acute and chronic pollutant exposure, particularly in vulnerable populations. Dr. Mendoza holds a joint appointment in the Pulmonary Division in the School of Medicine and the Department of Atmospheric Sciences here at the University of Utah. So, Dr. Mendoza, if you'd like to address the importance of scientific research as it relates to ozone. Thank you.
Good morning. I would like to discuss a few key points about ozone. When inhaled, ozone can damage the lungs, and even relatively low amounts can cause chest pain, coughing, shortness of breath, and throat irritation. Ozone may also worsen chronic respiratory diseases such as asthma and compromise the ability of the body to fight respiratory infections. Also, elevated ozone has been associated with increased school absences, much like PM 2.5. However, people cannot tell that the air is polluted as we can for PM 2.5 during our wintertime inversions, because ozone is invisible. However, it is still burning our lungs. The closest analogy we can think of is essentially like a sunburn inside your lungs. Now, the ozone problem in the summer spreads beyond the borders of the valleys and into the mountains where people are hiking and recreating. And especially if we think about kids in summer camps, that's a very vulnerable population, and they're exposed during the summer months. Ozone levels increase at higher elevations, and that is something that is not very well known. Unlike PM 2.5, where people during the summer can try to escape by going up to the mountains, ozone actually increases as you go higher in elevation. Now, if the wind speeds are low, such as under a high pressure area, which happens often now over our Great Salt Lake, that is where ozone can develop to very high levels. Increasing wildfires over the coming decades will likely elevate the background ozone problem, even if we clean up the ozone in our cities. Now, the University of Utah in 2015 conducted the most comprehensive study of ozone in the Wasatch Front. Several scientific publications have shown the distribution and intensity of ozone levels. Now we're working on the Uinta Basin, some research on the ozone levels there, which is another vulnerable area. Ozone also contributes to PM 2.5 pollution even in the winter. However, there is much that we need to understand still about that. And elevated summer ozone is somewhat better understood, but we need more comprehensive observations and models. One of the greatest dangers that we think about ozone is that because it is a gas, unlike the particles that is primarily PM 2.5, we think that it may be able to infiltrate buildings and actually impact our indoor air quality, which is a significant concern, as we mostly spend about 90% of our time indoors. Currently, we average about 22 days where ozone levels, 22 days a year where ozone levels are elevated beyond what would be considered a healthy level. And we expect those numbers to potentially rise because of a changing climate with higher temperatures, which lead to greater ozone formation, and more stagnant air, which again also lead to greater ozone formation. Thank you.